Tonight on NewsWatch, pro-life lawmakers sound off to protect the unborn. Their plan to end all taxpayer-funded abortions.
Plus, challenging the Supreme Court, one state's quest to ban abortions with what it calls the heartbeat bill.
And they're beaten and tortured for leaving Islam. Hear from the Christians risking their lives to spread the gospel in the Muslim world. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. Republicans want taxpayer-funded abortions stopped, and they're making it a priority. Good evening, I'm Lee Webb.
And I'm Lori Johnson. They've held 2 straight days of hearings on abortion, both focusing on bills that would end public funding. Today, the committee took up the Protect Life Act, which would also ensure doctors who object never have to perform abortions.
We agreed to allow children to stay on health care plans until age 26. We agreed to provide our children's coverage for pre-existing conditions and eliminate annual and lifetime caps. But what does it all mean if we're not going to protect them at the moment their lives begin?
Now that Republicans are in charge of the House, they are moving quickly to get these bills through. Paul Strand has more in tonight's top story.
For more than 30 years, pro-life congressmen every year had to make sure tax money did not end up paying for abortion. This Tuesday hearing examined a permanent ban on such funding. Pro-life lawyer Kathy Roos pointed out President Obama has urged Americans to find common ground on the controversial issue of abortion.
Americans have come together, 67% of us, in what may be the only truly bipartisan agreement possible, that whatever our differences on the issue of abortion, we can agree that the federal government should not subsidize it.
Democrats insisted cutting such funds hurts women's freedom.
Congress has, for more than 3 decades, used economic coercion to try to prevent women from exercising that constitutionally protected choice by prohibiting use of federal funds for abortions, the only legal health care procedure subject to such a ban.
But one panelist quoted a 1980 Supreme Court ruling.
Quote, abortion is inherently different from other medical procedures because no other procedure involves the purposeful termination of a potential life. In our view, the court's only mistake there was the phrase potential life. In our view, unborn children are actually alive until they are made actually dead by abortion.
Using taxpayer dollars to fund the killing of innocent unborn children does not liberate their mothers. It is not the cause for which those lying out under the white stones in Arlington National Cemetery died, and it is not good government.
Republican Mike Pence said he wants tax money cut off from abortion providers, too.
Planned Parenthood is far and away the largest abortion provider in America, and they are also the largest recipient of federal funding under Title X, and I believe the time has come for that to end.
The hearing's chairman keyed in on the key issue.
Does abortion take the life of a child? If it does not, then all of this here today is a non-issue. But if it does, then those of us sitting here in the chambers of freedom are in the midst of the greatest human genocide in the history of humanity.
Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Joining us now is the CEO for Concerned Women for America, Penny Nance. Penny, you can't help but be moved by the moral authority with which Congressman Pence and the other congressman spoke with. Trent Franks from Arizona spoke yesterday.
Absolutely. Kathy McMorris Rogers joined them. In fact, the new pro-life women members of Congress are joining Concerned Women for America and Lila Rose and others tomorrow to do a press conference calling for the end of funding to Planned Parenthood, which is the nation's largest abortion provider. They do they have over 600 clinics around the country, and there's a direct correlation between the over $365 million in government money that they get every year and the number of abortions they do. As the government money increases, so do their abortions.
Penny, pro-choice opponents say the Hyde Amendment already bans the use of federal money for abortions. So tell us why this legislation is necessary.
Because the Hyde Amendment only has ever applied to labor HHS appropriations, and the Obamacare law changes the pots of money around, and now there's new funds coming from other places. Not to mention there's funding for abortions abroad, Mexico City policy issues, many others pots of money that is not covered by the Hyde Amendment. What H.R. 3 will do will be to prohibit abortion funding from any government funds. So it's much more inclusive and something we should have done a long time ago.
The lawmakers have tried for 3 decades to get a permanent ban. Do you think they've got the votes to do it this time?
You know, it's really looking like it's now or never. It's really important that your viewers participate and let their members of Congress know, know that today is the day. We've got to support H.R. 3. We've got to ban government funding for abortion. More money is at stake now than has ever been before.
Planned Parenthood says abortions make up just a small percentage of its services. Would cutting funding keep it from performing what it calls other important functions?
You know, they have over $1 billion budget. We give them, in government dollars, at least $365 million a year, maybe more because they're not very, very clear. A very large part of, in fact, the majority of what they do is abortions. And they can cloak it any way they want to, but their hands are dirty and they perform abortions, and we have no business continuing to fund what they do. And I would even go on to say that the majority of their clinics are in minority communities. They began as a racist organization, and they continue to be that today.
Well, Penny, thanks for your work to protect the unborn, and thanks for your insights today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
New legislation in Ohio would ban abortion at the first detection of a baby's heartbeat. It's called the Heartbeat Bill, and some say it may make the Buckeye State ground zero in a legal challenge to Roe v. Wade. Here's Ephraim Graham.
Doctors can detect a baby's heartbeat sometimes as early as 18 days after conception, and it's at that point that some legislators in Ohio would like to ban women from being able to seek an abortion.
Once the heartbeat is detected, the baby is protected. Pretty simple. If you can hear that baby's heartbeat, then that child will be protected by law.
Janet Folger-Porter is behind Ohio's Heartbeat Bill. She's president of Faith to Action and the former Ohio Right to Life legislative director.
We're going to force the court to look at the distinctive, definitive moment when the child's heart begins to beat.
Civil rights attorney Al Gerhardstein has defended abortion providers. He says the measure will not get very far.
This bill totally eliminates the notion of viability, and it pushes the ban way up into the first trimester, which is clearly unconstitutional.
I have to say that it won't pass constitutional review.
But while abortion providers oppose the bill, Right to Life supporters say now is the time to act, pointing to Republican gains in Columbus and in Washington.
The goal for a lot of the legislative strategies is to have something that would get through committee, would get out, and would be declared unconstitutional and make it up through the courts to the Supreme Court.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
States like Texas, Georgia, and Oklahoma to see what happens with Ohio's Heartbeat Bill. They are considering introducing similar legislation.
Turning now to Egypt, where protesters began their 3rd week of demonstrations. Thousands remain in Tahrir Square. Some have been there for 16 straight days. Hundreds moved from the square today and attempted to storm the parliament building. That came after Egypt's vice president issued a vague ultimatum. He said protesters now have 2 options: dialogue or a coup. Protesters call the remarks a dangerous threat.
A top Republican leader in Congress says the United States must stop the spread of radical Islam in Egypt. Many experts worry that Muslim extremists could gain power there. Jennifer Wishon has the story from Washington.
Hundreds of thousands of Egyptians continue their call for change.
We need freedom, freedom, freedom.
Egypt's Vice President Omar Suleiman has begun talks with opposition leaders, including members of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Brotherhood's participation in decision-making about Egypt's future is now becoming a political issue here in the U.S. House Majority Leader Eric Cantor says, "I think the primary goal should be to stop the spread of radical Islam. That is where our focus should be." A growing number of people in the U.S. and abroad are growing concerned about the Muslim Brotherhood gaining influence in a new Egyptian government. A Brotherhood text called "Jihad is the Way" details support for the establishment of an Islamic regime. Jihad for Allah, a Muslim Brotherhood leader writes, is not limited to the specific region of the Islamic countries, since the Muslim homeland is one and is not divided. The banner of jihad has already been raised in some of its parts and shall continue to be raised with the help of Allah until every inch of the land of Islam will be liberated and the State of Islam established. Egyptian Christian Michael Youssef pastors a church in Atlanta. He tells CBN News he dreads thinking about Egypt under the influence of the Muslim Brotherhood.
If the Muslim Brotherhood take over the reins of power in Egypt, God may have mercy on all of us and the Christians, Israel, the West, and of course we're going to lose an incredible, powerful allies, and it'll be like a domino. The others are going to start falling, Jordan and all the other moderate states, secular states.
And author Joel Rosenberg warns the U.S. should be wary of the Muslim Brotherhood at the bargaining table in Egypt.
The Muslim Brotherhood is the worst-case scenario for the Egyptian people, for American interests, and certainly for the Israelis. They want Sharia law, they want a global caliphate, and if there was a true revolution that led to the Muslim Brotherhood, radical Muslims taking over Egypt, as radical Muslims took over Iran 30 years ago, this would be the twin pillars of radicalism.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
Next, a charity for moms in need comes under attack. Why some are making a big stink over their diaper policy.
Something going on at home?
Don't go preacher on me, man.
I'm not going preacher. I'm your friend.
A man without hope must accept the past.
I am alone. Been alone since I buried my first boy.
And let faith guide him.
What is there to believe in?
You can never underestimate the power of grace.
This February, witness the power of forgiveness.
And we in this together, man.
The Grace Card, rated PG-13, in theaters February 25th.
Attention investors, now is the time to protect your retirement accounts and investments. Excessive government spending is devaluing the US dollar and high rates of inflation are coming. Gold has tripled since 2001 and some experts predict the prices will climb another 100%. Buy gold now, direct and wholesale with United Gold Group. The demand for gold around the world is higher than ever. Foreign countries like China and India are buying up gold at record rates. Why? What do they know that you don't?
Call now and get your Gold Investors Kit absolutely free. Call in the next 5 minutes and receive The Secret to Owning Gold in Your Retirement Account, also absolutely free. Just call 1-800-758-5070. That's 1-800-758-5070.
This could be the most important call you make this year. United Gold Group, investing in America's future.
Something going on at home?
Don't go preacher on me, man.
I'm not going preacher. I'm your friend.
A man without hope must accept the past.
I am alone. Been alone since I buried my first boy.
And let faith guide him.
What is there to believe in?
You can never underestimate the power of grace.
This February, witness the power of forgiveness.
And we in this together, man.
The Grace Card, rated PG-13, in theaters February 25th.
For the third time in a week, a major snowstorm blanketed part of the nation's midsection. It dumped more than a foot of snow from Montana to Oklahoma, and it's moving east. Cities in the deep south that traditionally do not see much snow expect more than 9 inches.
A new report says crimes against churches are on the rise in the United States. The Christian Security Network says burglary, arson, vandalism, internal theft, sex offenses, and all other crimes all increased over the last 2 years. The group says FBI statistics don't give the whole picture because they only track hate crimes on churches. The Security Network has found thousands of additional crimes. Over the past 2 years, arsonists have attacked about 100 churches. Internal thefts cost churches about $250,000 per incident, adding up to more than $15 million a year. The Christian Security Network says one of the biggest problems is that churches don't think they could be targets.
They have that mentality of it can't happen here. And I think that that's one of the reasons why we release this report and compile these statistics, is to show that crimes do take place in every church, and no matter what size, no matter where they're located, and it's happening here in the United States. And that's one of the biggest hurdles to get over. Putting measures into place is a little easier once you accept that you could become a victim.
Hawkins says becoming security savvy is wise stewardship of God's resources. A ministry that gives diapers to mothers in need is causing a bit of a stink in Florida.
Yeah, the Diaper Bank has adopted a policy that encourages people to volunteer at the facility or attend a church service to take advantage of the program. But some say that's the wrong thing to do. Here's Ephraim Graham.
Destiny Diaper Bank's mission is simple. It gives diapers to mothers who need them in Southwest Florida.
We get a lot of families.
Rebecca Hines says her tiny nonprofit distributed about 3,000 diapers a day in 2010. That's a big demand for the tiny center run only by Hines, her husband, and volunteers. But the need gave her an idea she implemented just before Christmas.
Why couldn't I ask the moms if they would please come volunteer at our center, and for 1 hour per package of diapers that they receive, I thought would be a great way to, kind of boost up the volunteers here.
Moms can volunteer at the Diaper Bank or attend a service at Light Church. Sounds simple enough, but the Harry Chapin Food Bank has now ended its affiliation with Florida's only diaper bank because of the ministry's new policy.
The Destiny Diaper Bank decided that they were only going to serve people of a certain faith, and that's just not something that's in our guidelines.
That's a big loss for Destiny Diapers. The food bank gave the ministry thousands of pounds of baby food and other goods last year and sold it diapers at a discount.
Our commitment is to people in need, and that people in need are served in a fair and equal manner.
Hines says she is also committed to all people in need.
I have never required anyone to get food for anything. They do not have to be required to volunteer. They don't have to jump hoops. They don't have to go to church.
Still, another ministry partner, Huggies, is looking into Destiny Diapers policy. In a newspaper report, the brand manager said, the single mission of Huggies Every Little Bottom is to help get diapers to babies and families in need. We're continuously evaluating the program to ensure that the program's mission is upheld by our partners. But Hines says she's done nothing wrong. Since the policy began, more than 600 people have attended church, and she has only received 3 complaints. Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
The doctor came in. I was still waking up from anesthesia. He leaned over my bed and he said, "Laura, you have cancer." And he walked out of the room. The first thought is, what's going to happen to my children?
It's pretty rare for a person as young as me to get Hodgkin's disease. You would think, am I going to be here next year? Am I going to be able to spend more time with my family? And that was really hard.
The doctor says I would like to have his wife, his pastor, and his 2 best friends present. Then you know you're about to receive really bad news. There was very little hope given to us.
I just wanted this cancer out of me. I wanted to take care of it and move on.
We saw an ad on TV for Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and when I called them, I was very surprised that they were so quick to help us.
The second that we walked through the door, I knew that was the place that I wanted to be. If it wasn't for their kindness and giving, it would be unbearable to be able to go through something like that. And I honestly don't know how people who don't get that are able to handle it.
We were looking for medical care that would help us fight cancer, not manage it, but to actually fight it and beat it. And that's what we found.
Most people thought that that was a death sentence. I knew that I wanted to fight this. I knew I wasn't going to let that happen to me.
If you're a winner and you're a fighter and you're strong, you're going to stay that way. Your mental makeup, your attitude that you've taken your whole life with you, you're going to keep that attitude.
I said, let's just do it, and let me go on with my life.
Call now and we'll send you this free DVD that shows you how the most compassionate group of people anywhere puts you at the center of everything we do. Advanced medical treatment combined with unique supportive therapies give you treatment options you may not even know exist.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is the way of the future. Patients are now taking control of their own healthcare destiny.
I truly wondered when he had cancer if I would ever get him back. Thanks to Cancer Treatment Centers of America, I have my husband back.
In America, of course, we are free to choose our religion. But in the Islamic world, when a Muslim converts to Christianity, the consequences can be dire.
Gary Lane traveled to 4 Middle Eastern countries to bring us this report on those bold enough to risk it.
It's hard to be a Christian in a Muslim-dominated society, especially in Egypt, where Christians were murdered in the streets near the city of Luxor, where angry mobs often attack Christians even in the capital city of Cairo.
In November 2008, there was actually an attack of 3,000 people on a church in Cairo where they had attempted to burn it. And the attack can actually be viewed online on YouTube. You haven't heard anything about an arrest or a prosecution. That's sending a clear message to the Egyptian population that this is acceptable behavior.
Life-threatening behavior that mainly targets converts from Islam. Just ask Egyptian Mohammed Higazi. He and his family are in hiding, running for their lives. That's because he has several fatwas, official Islamic pronouncements of death, against him. All because he became a Christian and then fought a legal battle to gain the right to change his religion on his national ID card. Higazi says he was jailed and tortured by Egyptian state security agents who wanted him to return to Islam.
They hanged me upside down by my feet and beat me repeatedly. They used to torture us with electricity on many parts of our bodies, and especially on the genitals.
Higazi suffered because he publicly professed his faith. Converts from Islam often try to keep their Christianity secret in Muslim countries, but many are eventually found out by family members and others. That's what happened to this Palestinian. We've hidden his face to protect him from harm. Militant Muslims threatened to kill him, including one who threw a small boulder at his leg.
I was very worried a rock would hit one of my children or my wife. Thank God the rock hit me instead.
Asif's leg was broken and surgery was required. A steel rod was placed in his shattered leg. He endures ongoing threats and pain. Still, Asif says he will never return to Islam. Despite the risk, some bold Middle Eastern Christians feel compelled to share their faith with Muslims and others. Several years ago, this Iraqi Christian, we'll call him Hassan to protect his identity, started a church in Mosul. The body of believers grew from several people to 60 in about 5 months. One day, a gunman in a passing vehicle shot Hassan. Doctors said he suffered a spinal cord injury and would never walk again. Hassan continues to share Christ with others, but today he does it from a wheelchair in Lebanon. His paralysis has caused many difficulties, but also opportunities.
When I witness to people about Christ, they know that I really mean what I say unto death. Of course, living for Christ in Iraq is not easy for anybody. Despite this difficult situation, the salvation of souls is taking place in big numbers among masses in Iraq.
Many Muslims throughout the Middle East are coming to Christ through signs and wonders, like those performed by Paul and Barnabas in the book of Acts. This is the road in Damascus that the Apostle Paul walked. He stopped here at the home of Ananias where he was baptized. That was the start of an incredible ministry that has changed the world. Today in Syria, other evangelists are walking in his footsteps. This evangelist, we'll call him Rasim, asked me to accompany him to a mosque where he shared his faith with the imam. He gave the Islamic priest a copy of the Bible and the Jesus film.
I told him, if you read the Bible, you'll believe, and your mind will be changed. The Lord is God, and He died for you. He took the Bible, and he said, maybe.
Several Christians joined Rasim in the mosque and prayed for an elderly Muslim man named Bakram. He could barely walk. He had broken his knee, and it hadn't healed properly. And after the prayer,
Hallelujah. Bakram was healed and he started dancing and was very happy. There's a miracle in the mosque.
Like the secret Muslim converts and other Christians, Rasim's safety is at risk. While he's often afraid when he approaches a mosque, he says he feels the peace of God once he steps through the door in faith. And because he courageously pushes forward, the knees of this Bedouin woman were also healed recently. when Rossum paid a visit to her home.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you for Jesus.
We have fear, but Jesus is with us. Emmanuel is with us. Jesus said, I am with you forever. And we need to go to the mosques and everywhere to tell people the truth about him and his love.
Gary Lane, CBN News, Damascus, Syria.
Up next, a lesson in giving. Why this church told members to take money out of the offering plate.
The doctor came in. I was still waking up from anesthesia. He leaned over my bed and he said, Laura, you have cancer. And he walked out of the room. The first thought is, what's going to happen to my children?
It's pretty rare for a person as young as me to get Hodgkin's disease. Well, you would think, am I going to be here next year? Am I going to be able to spend more time with my family? And that was really hard.
The doctor says I would like to have his wife, his pastor, and his two best friends present. Then you know you're about to receive really bad news. There was very little hope given to us.
I just wanted this cancer out of me. I wanted to take care of it and move on.
We saw an ad on TV for Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and when I called them, I was very surprised that they were so quick to help us.
The second that we walked through the door, I knew that was the place that I wanted to be. If it wasn't for their kindness and giving, it would be unbearable to be able to go through something like that. And I honestly don't know how people who don't get that are able to handle it.
We were looking for medical care that would help us fight cancer, not manage it, but to actually fight it and beat it. And that's what we found.
Most people thought that that was a death sentence. I knew that I wanted to fight this. I knew I wasn't going to let that happen to me.
If you're a winner and you're a fighter and you're strong, you're going to stay that way. Your mental makeup, your attitude that you've taken your whole life with you, you're going to keep that attitude.
I said, let's just do it, and let me go on with my life.
Call now and we'll send you this free DVD that shows you how the most compassionate group of people anywhere puts you at the center of everything we do. Advanced medical treatment combined with unique supportive therapies give you treatment options you may not even know exist.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is the way of the future. Patients are now taking control of their own healthcare destiny.
I truly wondered when he had cancer if I would ever get him back. Thanks to Cancer Treatment Centers of America, I have my husband back.
Imagine being at church and when the offering plate comes around, taking money out instead of putting it in.
That was the case for about 700 members of an Atlanta church Sunday. When the offering plate was passed around at Freedom Church, people received an envelope of cash and were told they had to give it away to members of the community.
One person in this worship experience will also receive an envelope with $1,000 inside. Now, here's what to do with the money, because you don't get to keep it.
Big shock. I had one of the $1,000 envelopes to do something within my community for someone else. Talk about pressure.
I guess so. Overall, the church gave out $10,000. One of those blessed in the community was a husband who had just lost his job and had several medical bills piling up. I think it's kind of a neat idea, because hopefully then the person giving away that money gets the idea, hey, this is a great thing to do. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use my own money to do it too.
Spur them on. And unfortunately, you don't have to look very far to find people in need.
That's right. That's right. Especially in this economy. That's all for this edition of NewsWatch.
Remember, you can email us your comments and questions at newswatch@cbn.com. We hope you'll join us again next time.